I'd like to call the Senate Committee on Rules to order. Would you please take the roll? Thank you for promoting me to president. I like that. Yeah, I like that. Thank you. Okay. Red shoes. Thank you. Okay, before we get started on the agenda before us today, there's one bill we need to be referred to the Judiciary Committee. That's House Bill 2295. That is similar to a bill that went through Judiciary from Senator Eben. That is Delegate Levine's bill. So I need a motion that bans firearms in Capitol Square and state buildings. So I need a motion to re-refer HB 2295 to Judiciary. It's been moved and seconded that we re-refer HB 2295 to Judiciary. So is that recorded? That it is a recorded vote, so please vote.
Can we say no?
Can't say no, Edwards.
Count me yes.
Ayes are 11, noes are 0. That bill has been re-referred to Judiciary. We will begin with JLARC studies and action, moving to legislative studies. And
Madam Chair, I'm having a hard time hearing. Is your mic on?
it is on, Senator Edwards. I said we will begin with JLARC studies and actions. Then we will move to legislative studies and actions, executive studies and actions, and then to those House bills that are considered to be non-categorized. Starting with JLARC studies and actions, we will start with HJ 567. Delegate Watts, are you present?
Yes, Madam Chairman, I am.
Will you present your resolution?
Thank you, Madam Chairman. The resolution before you is something that I'm going to start by saying long overdue. The complexity of the Virginia individual income tax, with all of the interplay between the zero tax bracket, between what our tax brackets are, the effect of inflation, standard deduction, the fact that so many businesses file under the Virginia income tax, and I could go on, including, as is mentioned in the resolution, the fact that Virginia is second in the nation in the spread of cost of living, which means that this also affects where we might set certain rates. Working with Chairman Howell, as we have discussed this particularly over the last summer, I think that it is most appropriate that we have the kind of integrity and strong focus of JLARC to look into all of these interrelations so that we might restructure as appropriate, both for fairness as well as reflections of today's economy.
Thank you, Delegate Watts. Are there any questions to the delegate? Do we have anyone who wants to speak on this bill from the public?
Yes, Madam Chair, we have one
they're
speaker.
making it more progressive.
I'm sorry. We were waiting to hear from individuals in the public who wanted to speak on the legislation.
Tanisha Griffin, please unmute and go ahead.
Good morning. This is Tanisha Griffin, the Environmental Policy Research Analyst in the Virginia Majority. We definitely support this bill. We see this as a significant step forward for the state, so it can strategically identify opportunities to raise revenues, to make needed and urgent investments, such as fully funding our education system, ensuring families have access to essential healthcare services and benefits. So yes, we support it. We thank the delegate for bringing it forward. We hope the committee will vote in support. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there other speakers?
At this time, Madam Chair, no.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I appreciate the delegate's work I agree this is an important issue that needs to be looked at. I further just note for the committee that the House looks like amended to 2022, which seems to be consistent with our workload planning for JLARC, since the 2021 docket is full, and fully support the measure and move to report.
It's been moved and seconded that HJ 567 be reported. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? That has been reported. Thank you, Delegate Watts.
Thank you, Madam Chairman, members of the committee.
Okay, moving on to our legislative studies and actions, we will move to HJ 522. Delegate Tyler, are you there?
I am here, Madam Chair.
Everybody just wants to keep promoting me. Thank
You
you.
sure that was a promotion?
Okay. Okay, please go ahead, Delegate Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Chair. HJR 522 is the same resolution that was passed last year by the House and the Senate, but it was not conducted due to COVID-19. The resolution requests a study of the staffing level, employment conditions, and compensations at the Virginia Department of Corrections. As you know, already that the Department of Correction were already experiencing severe shortages and adverse work conditions even before the pandemic. COVID-19 has compounded these problems, and the officers have been crying out for help for a long time. I hope the committee will again support the study and hope that this will be the result of some changes in the Department of Corrections.
Thank you, Delegate. Are there any questions to Delegate Tyler with regard to HJ 522? Do we have anyone in the queue to speak?
Madam Chair.
Senator Marston.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I certainly recognize the need for doing this in the Department of Corrections, but we can't continue to go through this, our state agencies one at a time. We're dealing with state police, now we're dealing with corrections, and certainly what we need is a larger view of state compensation, and not just what its levels are, in terms of how much people earn, but how they earn it in terms of putting back in merit steps for longevity. There are a lot of ways that we can go here, but we can't just continue to go through agency by agency and try to fix this. We need a comprehensive approach, but I will support this, and I move its passage.
Could we wait to see if we have anyone in the queue to speak from the public?
At this time, Madam Chair, there's no one signed up to speak.
Okay, thank you.
Senator Marston's motion.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that HJ 522 be reported. And this is a voice vote. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, HJ 522 has been reported. Thank you, Delegate Tyler.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we will now move to HJ 526. Delegate Bolivar, are you present?
I am, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Appreciate your consideration of House Joint Resolution 526. This resolution will establish a joint subcommittee on rules to study and make recommendations on comprehensive campaign finance reform. I think, like most of us, I didn't run for office so I could spend hours raising money on the phone. I ran for office because I had a passion for public service. And remember, after my first election in 2005, thinking that something was wrong when my wife pointed out that our campaign cost twice the amount of money that we went ahead and paid for our home. Those costs have only increased. They've increased dramatically in 2019. 20 House districts and 10 Senate districts exceeded $1 million each in campaign expenditures. I don't think the challenge is necessarily that legislators are against campaign finance reform. I suspect that most of us would like to see that kind of change. Rather, the challenge is to vet out ideas and come to consensus on what that reform might look like outside of the pressure of a General Assembly session. And I think we all have heard ourselves say, I want reform, but I disagree with this approach. And then you kind of fill in the blanks. And so basically, it's a death by a thousand cuts. And we've seen that play out in this session as well. What this resolution will do is give us a chance to step back, study our options, and learn what other states have done. And hopefully the subcommittee can reach some kind of agreement and present recommendations for consideration in 2022. Madam Chair, I would note that the last time that we undertook a similar effort was back in 1993. Back then, a similar joint subcommittee was established to examine recommendations from a governor's commission and then to come up with recommendations on its own. And many of those recommendations were actually turned into law. Nearly 30 years later, I hope we'll take this opportunity to once again bring some balance to our system of campaign finance in Virginia. Thank you very much for your consideration, Madam Chair. Happy to take any questions.
I'd like to ask a question, Madam Chair.
Senator Sasslaw.
What do you think that Maryland's system or DC system is better than ours? Because they've got 1 million restrictions.
Madam Chair, I would respond that I don't know that I would say that Maryland or DC system is better than what we have. I guess what I am concerned about is how much it does cost to be able to run a campaign in Virginia, and that we don't have any kind of campaign contribution limits. And so I know that there's been a number of attempts to put in specific bills. Those have failed. This just gives us a chance to step back and look at what other states have done and to see if there is a good fit for making campaign finance reform in the Commonwealth.
Are there any additional questions to Delegate Bolivar?
Madam Chair.
Could you all please push your request to speak button? Senator Edwards.
All right. Having studied this for my law review article for the law review at UVA in 1969, I studied Corrupt Practices Acts, which is what they were called back in those days. And the only thing that really works is reporting. There are constitutional issues of limiting contributions, and this is not an easy issue. I don't think you want to go the way D.C. and Maryland does it, but if you want to go ahead, I guess, but this is not an easy issue. I don't think it is easy.
Was that a question or a comment? Other questions?
Yeah, it's a comment.
Madam Chair?
Who was that? Marsden?
Madam Chair?
Senator Marsden.
Thank you. Delegate Bolivar has brought up something that, has, bedevils all of us. And, we can't just compare ourselves to Maryland, D.C. just because they happen to be close. There may be something on the other side of the continent that would be useful. And if we don't take a look, I think we're not being responsible. This bill, this study doesn't mean we have to do anything. It just means we have to take a look at what's going on and see if somebody has created a better system. I don't think there's any harm in taking a look, and I think it's a good proposal.
Are there individuals who have signed up to speak on HJ 526?
Yes, Madam Chair. Nancy Morgan, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair. My name is Nancy Morgan. I'm the coordinator for the American Promise, a group looking at getting money out of politics. And I'd just like to highlight David Bolivar's mention of the Wilder report, and it's been 30 years. Meanwhile, in 2021, we are one of 5 states which has no regulations. Recently, Oregon passed a ballot resolution, so they will be implementing campaign finance, and we will be one of 4 states, including Utah, Nebraska, and Arkansas. Meanwhile, we've been watching bills being introduced in the House and the Senate that rarely get a hearing and sometimes don't get a vote. So, and election spending has increased. So we support this bill. We encourage the legislators to learn from other states. Maryland has $6,000. They have good disclosure bills. We can learn from other states. And we hope that the end result is not just a report, but also a recommendation for legislative-ready packages on campaign finance, which include limitations, disclosure, monitoring, and evaluation, and options for public funding. So I'd like to commend the delegate for introducing this, and I hope the committee votes yes on this bill. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Are there other speakers?
Yes, Joan Port will be our last speaker.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Joan Port, First Vice President of the League of Women Voters of Virginia. The League has long supported legislation that protects representative democracy from distortions created by the unrestricted campaign contributions. Delegate Boliva's bill, which provides rules for a comprehensive study, is a valuable first step that could lead to a strong new campaign finance system for Virginia. Currently, we know our systems are inadequate. As Nancy has just said, we are only one of 5 states that have no restrictions. We are also behind 22 states that already prohibit all corporations from contributing to political campaigns. We are also encouraged by the deadline of this bill and hope that it will get a quick study. Should the bill be enacted, the League of Women Voters is committed to support and assist the Joint Subcommittee in completing the study in any way. And we urge you to pass HJ 526. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Does that conclude the public comment?
Yes, Madam Chair. There are no other speakers at this time.
Delegate Bolivar, I do have a question in terms of what would be the makeup of the membership of the Joint Subcommittee?
Madam Chair, so the makeup, at least in the version that we have submitted, would be 14 members, and 10 of those would be legislative, 4 would be non-legislative. The legislative ones would be split in proportionality to the House and the Senate, but it does have a clause in there making sure that all recommendations have to enjoy a majority vote of support from the House and Senate members.
So there would be more House members than Senate members?
Madam Chair, at least this version, that is currently the case.
Well, Madam Chair,
Senator Deeds.
I would suggest that instead of getting hung up on the numbers, we just we include a clause that says that any proposal that's going to be agreed upon has to be agreed upon by a majority of the Senate members and a majority of the House members.
I think that is already included. Is that not correct, Delegate Bolivar?
Madam Chair, Senator Deeds anticipated my thought process exactly, and so we have included language in there that says exactly that.
Okay, are there any additional questions?
Madam Chair, I make a motion to report.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that HJ 526 be reported. There's a
Second.
There's a substitute motion. We don't know what it is yet. The substitute motion is to pass by indefinitely, and that's been seconded as well. We'll do the substitute motion first. All those in favor of the substitute motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
No.
Recorded vote.
Okay, we will have a
PBI.
We will have a recorded vote on the substitute motion. All those in favor, please let your vote be known on the electronic board. Ayes are 6, noes are 9. The substitute motion passes.
Substitute motion fails.
The substitute motion fails.
I move to reconsider. Having voted on the prevailing side, I move to reconsider the vote.
Come on.
Are we reconsidering the vote, or are we going to the other motion?
Reconsider. Yeah.
Okay, the motion is to reconsider the pass by indefinitely.
Yeah.
This is a reconsideration.
Ayes 15, no 0.
Motion's reconsidered.
Okay, we need a motion to,
Motion is the PBI.
the motion was the PBI? Okay. All those in favor of PBI, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
No.
Still cannot determine, so we will have a recorded vote. Six.
Vote red.
6 noes, 8, and Senator Deeds intended to vote no.
So the PBI fails.
Madam Chair, motion reverse the roll.
So the motion is to
Report the bill.
report. All those in favor of reporting, it just reverses the vote. Do we have to record?
The voice.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 Those opposed?
No.
Okay, I believe the ayes have it. So HJ 526 reports. Thank you, Delegate Bolivar.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, we will now move to HB 2213. Delegate Guzman, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, Madam Chair.
Okay, will you report your bill?
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I present to you House Bill 2213, a bill directing that the Secretary of Natural Resources, the Secretary of Health and Human Resources, and the Secretary of Commerce and Trade shall establish a work group to examine the environmental and health impacts of gold mining and to implement a moratorium on the issue of permits for large-scale commercial operations over 10 acres. There's no projects right now going on in Virginia over 10 acres. This report will be due to DMME by December 1st, 2022, and will allow state agencies to study the issue in a cost-effective manner and provide recommendations to the General Assembly when they meet in 2023. I've been working closely with the Virginia League of Conservation Voters. This is a key priority for their legislative agenda this session, and the Friends of Buckingham, whose community is directly impacted at the moment. This legislation is to protect communities around the gold pirate that could be impacted, and is supported by the Virginia Conservation Network, Appalachian Voices, the Southern Environmental Law Center, Piedmont Environmental Council, and the Chesapeake Bay Foundation. And there is, as going back to the case of Buckingham County, this situation could be preventive right now. There is a prospect of an open pit gold in that locality near the historic community of Hill, along at the James River. It's a study, yes. It's a study, and it's not unique to one area. The gold pirate goes from Fairfax to Appomattox County, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions to the delegate with regard to the study that's being proposed?
Madam Chair,
Senator Edwards.
I didn't know there was any gold. I knew there was gold in California, but I didn't know there was any gold in Virginia. How did this issue come up? There being gold. Where's gold? Any in the Roanoke area?
Delegate Guzman, would you like to respond?
Madam Chair, yes, Madam Chair, I would tell Senator Edwards that there is exploratory drilling, believe it or not, on the border with North Carolina right now, which is in Buckingham County. And they're exploring, and it's an area of 11,000 acres. There have not been decisions made, but we are just trying to take precautionary measures if there is if gold is found, and we have to have the systems in place when we have to issue those permits, Madam Chair.
Senator Peterson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm reading this bill, and I understand the need that anytime you do an invasive technology, it seems like gold mining, you need to look at the effects on air and water permits. What's the significance, though, of having a moratorium on sites larger than 10 acres? Would that, first of all, do we have any active gold mines? When was the last time we had one? And where does the 10 acres come from?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would tell Senator Peterson that there is no projects over 10 acres. And what we're trying to do is to protect an exploratory drilling that is going on in Buckingham County right now. As I was explaining earlier, that it's an 11,000 acres. There are small projects, believe it or not, right now in Virginia below 10 acres, and we don't want any jobs to be jeopardized or anything happen to those projects. So the 10 acres will cover everything, those small projects that are happening now, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate. Do we have speakers? I understand that we have a number of speakers who signed up to speak on this particular bill, and we are going to limit the time to 5 minutes. So understand that there is a limit of 5 minutes to the speakers, so please limit your remarks because you have other individuals who would like to have their voices heard on this issue. So understand that there are other people who are coming behind you. There is a limit of 5 minutes. So please start the individuals who wish to speak.
Would those who wish to speak in favor of the bill please raise their hand in Zoom? Jessica Sims, please unmute and go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair and members of the committee. My name is Jessica Sims. I'm the Virginia Field Coordinator for Appalachian Voices. We are strongly in support of HB 2213 and thank the patron. A thorough review of any potential impacts to Virginia's water resources and in turn to public health is critical, and we respectfully ask that you support the bill.
Brent Hunsinger, please unmute and go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. My name is Brent Hunsinger. I'm with Friends of the Rappahannock. The Pyrite Gold Belt goes through directly through the upper part of the Rappahannock River watershed. And for that reason, we support this bill and hope you will as well. Thank you.
Heidi Divya Berthod, please unmute and go ahead.
Hello, sorry, I'm new to this. I urge you to please support the full funding for HB 2213. It'll give us an opportunity to do a real accounting of the true costs of the impacts of modern day large scale gold mining to Virginia's public health, the drinking water of millions, and local and state economies. You heard that the gold exploration is going on in Virginia for the last 4 years without local authorities being aware of it, and there's no oversight and there's no accounting for it. Union Hill is 1 mile from the site. Warminster Church and Yogaville communities are across the street. Aston Bay proudly compares the potential for the Buckingham exploratory site to the Hale, South Carolina mine, which has a 600-acre cyanide mine waste containment area and covers some 5,000 acres and is still growing. The Virginia Gold Pyrite Belt extends north and southeast of the Blue Ridge, so all downstream watersheds
3 minutes.
would be impacted. Let's see, sorry. And there are unresolved mine waste costs in Virginia that need to be explored. Gold mining has a long track record of take the money and run, so it's important to explore these. Thank you.
Stephanie Rinaldi, please unmute and go ahead.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. I first just want to start and say that as Senator Marsden just said regarding the campaign finance bill that you just voted to report, this bill doesn't mean we have to do anything, but it does allow us to do the responsible thing in looking at the effects of gold mining and whether or not our regulations currently are up to snuff in regard to modern day gold mining. I think it's been mentioned already that we haven't had this kind of gold mining yet here in the state. We definitely haven't had this scale of gold mining that's being proposed. And in regard to what's been going on in Buckingham, which is where I am, looking out my window at where the exploration has been going on. They have not proposed to open a mine yet, but what the company has done is talk about the Hale gold mine in South Carolina and how this find here in Buckingham could lead to something like that. That mine is currently 5,000 acres in size. So just to give you an idea of the scale of what we are talking about. And in regard to the regulations, again, we do have mineral mining regulations here in Virginia, but they address things like quartz and limestone, because again, gold has not been mined on this scale previously. And so those are the things that I would ask that you keep in mind when you think about this bill. And again, thank you for allowing us to talk today.
Narisa Turner, please unmute and go ahead.
You have 1 minute left.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Narisa Turner with the Virginia Conservation Network, and if possible, I'd actually like to cede my time to our partners with the League of Conservation Voters, Chris Land. Thank you.
Morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee, Chris Lane, Virginia League of Conservation Voters. Thank you, Delegate Guzman, for this legislation. I'm going to try to do my best for 45 seconds here. Senator from Roanoke City, as well as the rest of the committee members, I sent you a map that covers where the mining sites are, so you can check that out, as well as an article that covers the history of gold mining in the Commonwealth that was done by the Virginia Mercury. It takes 20 tons of earth to extract an ounce of gold. That's why we're concerned. That's a stat from Oceana, a multinational gold mining company, not me. This means that you have to pulverize the rock, you process it with cyanide, then you leave that in behind a line dam in heaps, just like coal ash ponds. And then just like coal ash ponds, in addition to water quality implications, we're concerned about closure and long-term maintenance costs. We do not have specific closure and long-term maintenance cost protections in Virginia. We could be left holding the bag. Yep, and that's probably 5
You
there.
could just wrap up your remarks.
Absolutely. I'd like to quickly clarify that
Quickly.
this bill doesn't impact small-scale remediation operations. It does not impact aggregate mining in any way, and it does not impact any active operations. And that is what is in fact happening today. Is we think that this bill has been really carefully crafted. It's very deliberate and intentional in seeking to actively craft legislation through this work group. Let the General Assembly consider what happens to it, and then to pass laws contingent when the moratorium lifts.
Okay, if there are any individuals who are opposed to this legislation, we will now hear from you.
Those who wish to speak against legislation, please raise your hand in Zoom. Katie Hellebusch, please go ahead.
Yes, hello, Madam Chair and members of the committee. Katie Hellebusch, representing Weyerhaeuser, who for more than a century has been growing trees and making forest products that improve the lives in fundamental ways, serving as stewards of land across the Commonwealth. Mining is critical to Virginia and the nation. In fact, U.S. President Joe Biden has indicated that he will order a government-wide review of critical supply chains in an effort to reduce our nation's reliance on countries such as China for essential medical supplies and minerals. The administration's goal in doing so is to protect government and private sector supply chains, to prevent future shortages and limit other countries' ability to exert leverage over the United States. Weyerhaeuser supports HB 2213 as an opportunity to study mining, its economic contribution to the Commonwealth, as well as its impact on increasing the quality of life of residents across Virginia, including the most vulnerable, as well as those who use our roads, byways, and highways. However, placing a moratorium on permit issuance is simply premature, in our opinion, while this study is underway. Several layers of adequately protective permitting processes exist from local to federal levels and address each concern outlined in this bill. Any mining permit application is reviewed by and governed under strict federal guidelines enforced by the Mine Safety Health Administration in addition to our own DMME. Local governments further protect their own communities through the special use permitting processes and consider community concerns and needs while determining comprehensive plans and zoning. As it should be, each level of a potential mining permit review would assess and protect environmental and community needs, including protection of the area's most vulnerable citizens. Furthermore, we worry that this moratorium will place a chilling effect not only on I'll finish up shortly. Not only on gold mining, but that of aggregate too. These products are critical to our quality of life. And just to mention a few that you might be using today, your cell phone, construction materials for homes and offices, ceramics, paints, electronics, filtration, glass, detergents, and paper. This moratorium would have a much further reaching impact than simply arresting the permitting process. Therefore, we ask you to remove this language in the bill as you can, so that you may let localities exercise their right to issue permits. I would also mention that Nancy Thompson, with the Director of Government Affairs for Weyerhaeuser, is in the queue, although I think both she and Rob Layham with VCTA are having trouble using the raise hand feature, but they are both here to speak and answer any questions. Thank you.
There's 2 minutes remaining for those who are in opposition.
Rob Lanham, please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I'm Rob Lanham with the Virginia Transportation Construction Alliance. We represent the transportation construction industry in Virginia, and our membership includes the aggregate producers. I know one of the other folks mentioned that this doesn't pertain to aggregate producers. However, these legislations and techniques do carry over when from mining sectors to mining sectors to be utilized when another type of mine is proposed in the county. So we support the bill, the study, but the moratorium raises some problems for us as a tool that can be used to inhibit future mining operations that aren't related to gold. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.
Nancy Thompson, please unmute and go ahead.
Good morning, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I will simply defer my time, and if there are any questions that Katie did not answer for you, I will be available to do that. Thank you for your consideration. We ask that you please remove the moratorium.
Thank you.
Michael Skiffington, please unmute and go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, I'm Michael Skiffington, the Policy Director for DMME. We don't have a position on the bill, and I'm just here to answer any questions. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Dan Holmes, please go ahead.
I was here to speak in favor of the bill. So on behalf of Piedmont Environmental Council, thank you.
Kenda Henneman, please go ahead.
Thank you. I'm also here to speak in favor of Bill 2213.
Tanisha Griffin, please unmute and go ahead.
Yes, I was also here to speak in support of New Virginia Majority. Thank you.
Okay. Our time has expired. Thank you all who came to speak either in favor or in opposition to the legislation. Delegate Guzman, will you wrap up?
Yes, Madam Chair, thank you. Well, I would like just to address a few comments. We're talking about what is the need of the moratorium. And I would like to address the three issues, Madam Chair and members of that committee. Timing is extremely important. It was mentioned that we should rely on our local government officials. But I could tell you that there are certain local government officials that are not listening to their constituency, and it is our responsibility as a state government body to try to address the needs of the constituents of Virginia, regardless of where they live, as I addressed earlier, that this gold pirate is from Fairfax to Appomattox County. Right now, there is exploratory drilling. There's no projects, or projects are coming in the year that we're gonna conduct the study where we are not gonna issue permits, and the MME could confirm that. I believe that we should update regulations before mining permits are sought, setting clear guidelines for industry and providing clear protections for Virginians. I come from a mining, Madam Chair, from a family with mining engineers and geologists. And I could tell you, I have seen my family members losing their sight, having lung and pulmonary.
Delegate Guzman, could you wrap up, please? We need to move on.
Sure. This is about water quality and protected vulnerable communities, Madam Chair. And I hope that you support this bill. Thank you.
Senator Deeds.
Madam Chair, I would propose an amendment that we strike lines 24, 25, and 26 from the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we amend the bill by striking the lines so indicated. All in favor of that amendment, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
Now I'd move to report the bill.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2213 be reported as amended.
Madam Chair.
Senator McPike.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just very briefly, I think the study is important. I'm glad that portion is moving forward.
Prince William County, Prince William Forest Park actually is a site for an old pyrite mine, and growing up and exploring that national park for years, the national forest there's an old section that used to never grow any trees, and that was the section where the pyrite was mined. And this is much the same, along the same belt that you do have gold sprinkled in. And it's because of the chemicals that leached out from the tailings over the years. And so I think it's a worthy update to study this issue and support the measure. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Let's please vote on the measure. This is a recorded vote.
Without the moratorium.
I'm not, vote me as a yes, I'm not. Peterson, yes.
Look, all of us are not being able to register.
Right. There's no moratorium. Yeah, it's just.
Yes. Let's strike this and
Do it again.
If it's gonna stay that way.
let's do this again.
I'm getting nothing, Hobie. Peterson's a yes. Oh, here we go. Oh, never mind. There we go. Rock and roll.
Ayes are 15, noes are 0. HB 2213 is reported. Thank you, Delegate Guzman.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee.
We will now move to HB 2271. Delegate Samira, are you there?
Yes, Madam Chair, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. This is an independent study of the costs of all universal healthcare options that we can consider through federal administrative waivers. After successfully bringing thousands of new Virginians into the Medicaid program, expanding the public health insurance to cover all Virginians not covered by any health insurance is the next step toward ensuring affordable health care for all in the Commonwealth. Publicly financed systems have proven to serve populations that have very difficult time getting the finances with highly affordable healthcare coverage for them. While some approaches preserve a role for duplicative private services, other approaches make the Commonwealth the only servicer. The bill would examine these differences and their financing implications by directing the Joint Commission on Healthcare to contract an independent study of two financing options for one of the most popular pathways to affordable quality coverage for all Virginians. This study would put to bed the question to propose plans surrounding all sorts of universal healthcare proposals. How are we going to pay for it? It's not achievable without federal CMS waivers, and so we need the study to get that information, how we would be able to do that. And lastly, this is a study on the data, on the costs, and so it doesn't require anybody to support the idea. But I also wanted to point out that it's going to the Joint Commission on Healthcare, and one of the chief co-patrons is the current legislator in charge of the Joint Commission on Healthcare, Delegate Patrick Hope. So we've been working on this one, and we find it to be important to the work of the commission to be able to contract out for study. Thank you.
Are there questions?
Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
You know, I support the idea of getting more people insurance. The Joint Commission on Healthcare says this to hire an outside consultant to do this work. It's going to cost $850,000. Is that in the House budget?
It's not, Madam Chair.
Is it in the House budget?
Madam Chair, yes, it is in the House budget, and Senator Deeds, it's 375. Actually, it's a different number that you're looking at. It got changed by House Appropriations to a better accommodate.
So how can you fit 850?
If this is reported, it has to it has to go to finance.
Yes. Madam Chair, are you ready for a motion? Or
I am. We need to get rolling.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. Well, then I move that we report the bill and we refer it to finance.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that House Bill 2271 be reported and re-referred to finance. Are you ready to vote? I'm sorry, Senator Peterson.
No, ma'am. I don't need to speak.
Okay. Are we ready?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
Linwood. Wait. Linwood's a yes.
Okay. Ayes are 11, noes are 3, and Linwood meant to vote yes. Okay, so House Bill 2271 is reported. Thank you, Delegate. Okay, we'll now move to HJ 527, Delegate Bolivar.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, members of the committee. I do have an amendment, and I guess my question is whether you'd like that now or whether you want me to explain the bill first for context.
Either go ahead and explain and then the amendment.
Okay, great. Thank you, Madam Chair. House Joint Resolution 527 directs the Department of Conservation and Recreation and the Virginia Department of Agriculture and Consumer Services to facilitate a work group to study the sale and use of invasive plant species in Virginia. The Virginia Department of Conservation and Recreation lists over 90 invasive plants that are known to seriously harm local ecosystems and smother and kill more beneficial native vegetation. In addition to their impacts on the environment, removing these infestations cost money and a lot of it. So just for example, Arlington County spends about $250,000 each year. Fairfax County spends about $350,000 each year. And similar costs are borne by state and local governments throughout Virginia. Sadly, and what this bill deals with is that a good deal of the invasive species are actually still being sold in our nurseries commercially. And so what this bill does, and I know that this can be a tough issue to go ahead and crack, is to be able to, again, step back and try to come up with some recommendations for how do we make sure that we're managing those invasive species properly. Been very pleased by the groups who have acknowledged that this is a real issue. And so it's important to address. This includes the Virginia Society of Landscape Architects, the Virginia Farm Bureau, and the Virginia Native Plant Society, among other groups. The two things I just wanted to mention at the end is that first, the Senate budget does include similar language that was introduced by Senator Marsden. So thank you very much. And then the line amendment is just to add some additional stakeholders to the work group. And so the Virginia Society of Landscape Architects, as well as representatives from local governments and representatives from Virginia Tech and plant science were interested in being part of this work group. And that's what the line amendment would do, Madam Chair.
And you have that amendment, Amigo?
Yes, Madam Chair, it's going to be two amendments, and we are posting it now.
Madam Chair.
Senator Deeds.
Did the amendments make this resolution consistent with the budget language that is in the Senate budget? My understanding is there's an item that proposes this very study, the creation of this very work group.
Madam Chair?
Yes, Delegate Bolivar.
If I could, to Senator Deeds' question, this would be in addition to, as this comes through, the language is identical. This would add some additional language with respect to including those stakeholders in the work group. And that's something that we could update as the budget conference process moves along. We'd make sure that those the budget language and this language were identical.
Yeah.
Senator McDougall.
Madam Chairman, what plants are on this list that's supposedly maintained by DCR?
Madam Chair, I could speak to that. There are some things like English ivy, porcelain berry, a number of things that you can get at a local nursery that are on that list. But we do have representatives from the Virginia Native Plant Society that could probably give you a much more detailed list of items that are commercially available that are also on that invasive species list.
Senator Lewis.
Yeah, Madam Chair, just speaking briefly to Senator McDougall's question, and Delegate Bolivar can correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm certain that one plant that's on there is Phragmites. And I spend about $800 or $900 a year trying to beat back Phragmites, as do hundreds and hundreds of other property owners on Virginia's Eastern Shore. So I'm all for it.
Madam Chair, bamboo is also one of those things that are on that list.
Madam Chair, I'm ready to make a motion.
Okay, we need to address the amendments.
Move the amendments.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we adopt the amendments. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Madam Chair, I move that the bill as amended be reported.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that HJ 527 as amended be reported. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay. Record your noes. Okay. Okay, we have three more items.
Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, Delegate Bolivar, I'm sorry. We have three more in items to deal with before we have to get out of here very quickly. HJ 542, Delegate McQuinn.
Yes, good morning, Madam Chair, and members of the committee. I have HJ 542, and it's a resolution that would authorize the Department of Rail and Public Transportation to study transit equity and modernization in the Commonwealth. Just moving quickly, we would, this study would address the environmental issue. It would address how pollution has created problems for us. It is also will address looking at the health consequences as a result of the negative environment from, again, from the issue of transportation. And so I'm trying to move quickly, and I apologize. But hopefully this would be the result of this study would help us to provide a cleaner, safer, and more economically efficient transit system for everyone involved. We've been particularly affected in Black communities and communities of color, and we are trying to look at this from a holistic perspective. And I hope it would be the will of the body of the committee to pass this resolution. It would be $500,000 is put in the budget as the Department of Rail and Public Transportation look at it to help defray the cost of it. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate McQuinn. Are there any questions to the delegate? Is there anyone in the public to speak on this?
Yes, Madam Chair. Lisa Guthrie, please go ahead.
Yes, Madam Chair.
If you could be very brief.
I will. Lisa Guthrie with the Virginia Transit Association, and we've been pleased to work with Delegate McQuinn, DRPT, the nonprofit community, and others in promoting this forward-looking study that will improve transit services and ensure equity and access. Thank you.
Thank you.
James Hill, please unmute and go ahead.
Madam Chair, members of the committee, James Hio with Fairfax County. We echo the statements made by the previous speaker. The county asks that you support this effort. Thank you.
Connor Kish.
Thank you, Madam Chair, members of the committee. Connor Kish with the Sierra Club. We thank Delegate McQuinn for this legislation and hope that you will support it. Thank you.
Tanisha Griffin.
Yes, this is Tanisha Griffin, Environmental Policy Research Analyst in the Virginia Majority. We also support this bill for the same reasons related to transit equity, economic opportunity, etc. Thank you.
Faith Harris.
Madam Chair, thank you for the opportunity to testify in favor of HJ 542, Equity and Modernization Study. A robust public transit system has the potential for raising the quality of life for rural and urban communities across the state. Access to employment, shopping, medical services, we are important quality of life factors and will
If you could quickly sum up your remarks, please. Thank you.
This is Virginia IPL supports this bill.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Wyatt Gordon will be our last speaker.
I will just quickly add, Madam Chair, that the entire environmental community is behind this, and Chesapeake Climate Action Network specifically asked me to say that they are in favor. They could not be here, but our environmental community does support this on behalf of VCN. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we have HJ 542.
Madam Chair.
Yes, Senator.
This was not flagged by finance staff, but I think at the very end, I heard Delegate McQuinn said it had a $500,000 impact. Is that correct?
Was that correct, Senator? I mean,
Yeah.
Delegate Howe?
Okay.
Delegate McQuinn.
Yeah. Yes, Madam Chair. Yes.
Very
Senator.
reluctantly, I'm going to have to ask that it go to finance then.
Okay.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that HJ 542 be reported and re-referred to finance. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Okay, I'm going to have to make some apologies here to Delegate Price, Delegate McNamara, and Delegate Aird. I'm going to have to kick your bills to next week. And I apologize for having you to wait all this time to do that to you. I owe you one. So, but I am going to have to take up HB 1978 because it does have a fiscal impact. We're going to go to HB 1978. Delegate Reed.
Yes, Madam Chair. Thank you, Madam Chair and members of the committee. I will try to be brief. The problem that this bill is trying to address is that, excuse me, our legislative staff members, meaning our legislative aides in both the House and the Senate, as well as DLS, are not covered by any type of additional professional development training funding. And so we spend a lot of time working on a lot of different issues, and we expect them to be able to support those things as well. So what the intent of this legislation is to do is to increase the lobbyist registration fee for-profit lobbyists on a per-client basis from $100 to $400, with the additional $300 being set aside in a fund that the clerk from both the House and the Senate would then be able to set up policies and procedures so that our legislative staff would be able to receive tuition assistance, professional development training, or be able to go and attend professional development conferences to better support the work that we do for the Commonwealth. That's the gist of the bill, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Delegate Reed. Are there any questions to the delegate? Are there any speakers?
We have one speaker, Madam Chair.
Okay, we'll go ahead and hear from that speaker who I know is going to be very, very brief.
Edmund O'Callaghan, whenever you're ready, please unmute and go ahead.
Thank you, Chairwoman and members of the committee. I was a former legislative aide in the House for 3 sessions. I enjoyed my time in the House, but there was not a lot of upward mobility and no opportunity for advancement. I think a program like this could have made it easier for me to stay and provides a benefit already given to everyone else in state government. Keeping ambitious staff is essential for quality services, and I hope you decide to pass HB 1978. Thank you very much.
Thank you. This bill will have to be sent to finance.
Move to report and refer to finance.
Substitute motion PBI.
There's a substitute motion to pass by indefinitely. We will do the substitute motion first. All those in favor of passing by indefinitely, please let your vote be known on the electronically. This is to PBI. Ayes 11, noes of 4. House Bill 1978 is passed by indefinitely. Okay, that concludes us for today. We will take up the 3 that we did not do today. Again, my apologies to Delegates Price, McNamara, and Aird. We will take up their bills next week.